to Mo Salah, because he has obviously been one of the best signings in Liverpool history. He made a bit more history last night with his 50th Champions League goal, including qualifiers. I'm going to reel off a couple more stats now. It's the 10th time that he scored the only goal for Liverpool in a 1-0 win, which doesn't sound like too many, but he's only the 6th player in Liverpool history to do that, which just proves his importance in getting those crucial wins and crucial points for Liverpool. 16 goals, 12 assists in 22 games this season, 28 goal involvements, which is one of the highest in Europe. And he's either scored or assisted each of Liverpool's last 6 goals and 10 of their last 13. And I know the stat gets updated. I haven't got the latest update, but it's probably 75%, something around that for the entire season that he's either scored or assisted. Absolutely mad numbers, and we speak about him every week because he demands we speak about him every week with his performances. But there's been actually an update on his contract since we last spoke, and it sounds like an offer's been made. It sounds a lot more positive, and it sounds like some things are a lot closer to being confirmed than when we last spoke.
Yeah, I mean, I'd urge caution around that, in that we're still a while away, I would say. It's without a doubt a positive step forward that an offer's been made, because Liverpool wouldn't be doing that if there's not a rough outline, close to agreement on kind of what they want, or they've got a ballpark in their head of where they want to be and where he wants to be. So it moves them a little bit further down the road, but I still think there's quite a lot to thrash out. I still think this is a really complex one, but it's good in that it probably stops Mo having to come out every week to demand he gets that offer. And clearly that progress hadn't been made previously, and that he was getting frustrated about that. But now it has, and he hasn't kind of shot it down as far as we're aware. He hasn't come out to say the offer was a disgrace or anything like that. So find all that very, very encouraging. And clearly he's just desperate to stay, isn't he? And I think Liverpool, we've said it so many times, but they just can't afford to lose someone who's this influential. He might not be as influential in a couple of seasons' time, but he certainly will be for next season. So it's just imperative that they keep him. And so, yeah, I think it is overall a positive, but I still think we are a little while away from kind of any conclusion on this. But we're closer than we've ever been to getting there now.
What do you think the length is going to be in the end? Because there's been a few contrasting reports. I think it's probably the thing we've spoken about most about it is about what length of contract it will be, because that seemed to be the big sticking point. Reports came out that he'd be happy to consider a 1-year contract. There's been reports that it's a 2-year contract. Where do you think the situation is on that front?
I feel strongly it'll end up being a 2. I just think that feels like a nice balance for everyone, really. 3 is too much, and I think there will be some inevitable decline in that, because it is essentially, it's not kind of a 3-year deal from here, is it? It's almost a 3.5-year deal when you factor in that we've still got the rest of this season. So that would be a little bit long, whereas I think 2 feels like a nice balance, and one would basically just give you the same problem coming towards the end of the next season. And I just think Liverpool would like to avoid that. So 2, if he does another 2 seasons at this kind of level, and then that might be the point at which he kind of says this is the time to go to Saudi Arabia, we might see a little bit of decline over those next 2 seasons, then leaves on a free and gets his massive contract. And Liverpool have absolutely had unbelievable years with him. I think that would be best for everyone. So I would be surprised if it's not a 2-year deal that they've offered him.
Yeah. In terms of the other 2, Van Dijk sounds like it's going to be confirmed at some point, but it looks like that's pretty far down the road. Do we have any sort of time period on that time window you expect that to happen?
For me, that just seems like the easiest one of the 3 to get done, really. Again, desperation on his side to stay. Wages not as outrageous as Salah's. So, just felt like agreement on that. Again, I just would be surprised if that's not the first that gets done, actually, just on that basis. So, and again, an offer's been made, been turned down. But again, that's just a step along the road, isn't it? And they are getting a little bit closer. So I'd like to think that will be the first one. And again, we are edging closer to that one being done. So hopefully get some news soon. But it's one of those I always kind of say as well that, I did used to work for the club myself and know that when a contract is signed, it basically comes through to us to publish and put on the website immediately. There is no delay there where it will be done and hanging on to the info. It just is signed and the info is put out there immediately. So, it's not like Liverpool are keeping anything back, as we will know immediately. But that also shows it can very much happen out the blue. We don't necessarily get a running commentary on that. It can be like, bang, it's signed, and then and then it's out there. So, it could happen tomorrow. It could happen completely out of the blue when we're not expecting it. So, if anyone's concerned about that, I would kind of like to ease those fears, I guess.
That's an interesting point, because there has been quite a lot of talk that maybe one might be agreed, or they're waiting to announce it in case that changes the demands of another one of the three. If they find someone's getting paid X amount, then they'll maybe want X amount as well. There's been talk maybe they'll announce 2 in 1, but generally it is once it's agreed, it's announced.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just contracts that operated in that way as well. It was very much kind of signings as well. So literally, as soon as the pen was put to paper, it was the signing was announced on the website, get it out there ASAP. So, that's kind of how those things operate. So they don't tend to keep hold of things. And the reason for that is obvious as well, that things just leak out anyway. There's no way you'd if Virgil had signed his contract already, they'd be able to keep a lid on that. It'd be very, very difficult. So, it will, as soon as it gets done, and it could be in the next few days, it'll be out there and we'll all know about it.
And then how about Trent? Because radio silence really on him, but I think that's how he wants it to be conducted, isn't it? If we get Salah and Van Dijk, which is looking probably more likely than not at the moment, but then Trent chooses not to stay and goes maybe to Real Madrid, is that a satisfactory scenario for you, for Liverpool fans, do you think? Because I know you had him as the top priority, but if we get the other two, how do you feel about that? And how do you think Liverpool fans will feel about that?
I still think it'd be a devastating blow to lose him. I mean, he's such an important player to Liverpool, but beyond that, what he kind of represents, being a local lad. You want one of those in your team. You want him to be Liverpool captain eventually, and so I just don't think there'd be any way, even if he signed up the other two, of sugarcoating losing a kind of local legend who's coming into his prime years. Really, that would just be really, really bad, to be honest. So hopefully it doesn't come to that. And I think there's a little bit of concern around Trent, in the sense that the Real Madrid threat is there, and he hasn't come out and knocked that down. But I kind of had a thought about this week, that it actually wouldn't make sense for him to do that at any point, to knock it down, to come out and say, I definitely want to stay at Liverpool, I've no interest in going to Real Madrid, because his contract discussions are, the confrontational. It's all about, he's got to use that threat, he's got to leverage it to get the best contract he possibly can. So it wouldn't make sense for him to come out and kind of rule that out as a possibility. And that threat will, it's worthwhile that existing for him, but it's also genuinely real. I mean, I don't, the sense I'm given by talking to people around this is that it's not the case that, he's basically, if he decided that he was going to Real Madrid, that would be out there now. That information would be known. There would be no contract talks ongoing. But it's a case of, it's worthwhile him keeping that live. And also, if the contract talks don't play out as he wants them to, then it's also just a genuine option for him to go there. It's not necessarily his priority now, and he's thinking, I absolutely want to go to Liverpool, to Real Madrid. He is giving Liverpool priority at the moment. He's going through those talks. That's ongoing at the moment. But you might as well keep the Real Madrid interest live, because it's leverage. And also, if it doesn't work out with Liverpool, you can go there and have a great time, and all the things we spoke about why it will be a great move for him. So I think that's why we've not had that ruled out, and I don't think we will until there's any kind of conclusion either way on the contract, really. So, again, it's one of those things I wouldn't worry about too much. He is talking to Liverpool. He hasn't told them that he wants to leave, and it's just about, can they get through those contract talks and get this deal finally thrashed out? And I'm still optimistic that they will.